Okay. Thank you, Mimi. Good afternoon. I am Karen Gaffney, and I'm honored to be here with all of you at your 10th annual Salute to Courage Luncheon. I know you've probably had a lot of choices about how to spend your lunch hour today, and I'm grateful to all of you for choosing to spend it here to support the Kindering Center. Some of you may know me because of my accomplishments in open water swimming, a relay across the English Channel, a 9-mile nonstop swim across Lake Tahoe. A couple of years ago, I led a group of open water swimmers on a 6-mile swim down the Columbia River. To raise over $80,000 for the Providence Center for Medically Fragile Children. I also like to tell people that I am the first person with Down syndrome to escape from Alcatraz. I have done that swim from Alcatraz Island all the way across the San Francisco Bay 16 times now. And unlike some famous prisoners who have attempted that swim, I have lived to tell about it. I have done many other open water swims in Donner Lake, the Boston Harbor, Dunleary Harbor in Dublin, Ireland, a 5-mile swim from Molokini to Wailea Beach in Maui, and an 8.5-mile swim from Vermont to New York on Lake Champlain twice. Swimming 9 miles nonstop in 60-degree water is pretty hard for anyone to do, with or without Down syndrome. Dodging jellyfish in the English Channel is pretty tough, too. But working to stay included in a regular classroom setting, getting my high school degree and a 2-year college degree was a lot harder than any of the open water swims I have tackled. Can you imagine for just a minute what it is like to come into this world with a whole list of at-risk issues, like being at risk for things such as heart problems, joint problems, sight problems, hearing problems, speech problems, oh yes, and learning problems, just to name a few. I know that's a pretty familiar list to many other parents here in this room, and to all of those involved with the Kindering Center. Well, I came into this world with a list like that, and I ended up with most of the things on that list, except the heart problems. Although the doctors were predicting that I would be lucky to be able to write my own name or tie my own shoes, I was lucky enough to have been born at the time when the whole concept of early intervention was just taking hold. Many families and educators refused to see the predictable set of limitations that many other doctors saw. They thought there was a better way. So they teamed up, and early intervention programs got started. Schools began to plan for including students like me in a regular classroom, and I began my journey. It was not a smooth road for me, but because of early intervention, I got the opportunity to try. I started school when I was 3 months old. My mom and dad and I went to a program 3 days a week, where we worked on many things to help me learn and grow. My early intervention program was modeled after a similar one at the University of Washington, and the early strategies in Kindering. I stayed in the early intervention programs until I was about 3 years old. Then I began to attend a regular Montessori preschool program 5 days a week. The head start I got from all the early intervention made a big difference for me by the time I started first grade. I could read as well as the others, and I had a good working vocabulary. At least my mom says I did. None of that would have been possible without the early intervention services I had. And without early intervention, I would not have had the building blocks I needed to be included in the regular classrooms with my peers. Oh, and by the way, I did learn to write my own name and tie my own shoes. Oh, and I also taught my younger brother how to tie his shoes as well. I had to work hard to keep up with everyone else in school, and I still do now. Sometimes I can't hear everything that the others are saying. Sometimes I can't see people clearly unless they're right in front of me. I don't always understand things right away. But with a lot of hard work and effort, I get there. I was fortunate to have people around me who thought about potential instead of being at risk. I think that made all the difference. I know that all of us here share a common vision of hope for a full and inclusive life for people like me. People who were born with something extra. And that something extra certainly wasn't my height. That something extra is just a small piece of extra chromosome that you can only see with a special microscope. That little piece of chromosome has thrown a lot of challenges my way, and I've had to work hard to meet those challenges head on. And I had a lot of help along the way. Many young people with Down syndrome who are around my age are part of the first generation of early intervention programs, inclusion in schools, speech therapy, physical therapy, regular exercise, and rising expectations, even some that are beyond our wildest dreams. We owe a great deal to the generations before us, like the founders of Kindering and support groups all around the country. They all had the courage to see things differently, to ignore old data. They helped families say no to institutions, and they spent more than a generation paving the way for us, imagining all sorts of new possibilities: education, inclusion, independence, something that the generation before me did not have for their children. But that generation worked hard to make it right for my generation. They opened the doors for us, and we walked right in. Their hard work was not in vain. We showed them the possibilities. I was able to be included in the regular classrooms all through school. I graduated from St. Mary's Academy in Portland, Oregon, with a regular high school diploma. Oh, I also earned my letter in swimming as well, all 4 years. And then I was able to go on to Portland Community College, where I earned an Associate of Science degree and a Teacher's Aide certificate. There are many, many other young people like me who have done the very same thing. All over the country, we have young people with Down syndrome and other intellectual disabilities, showing the possibilities, standing tall and straight on the shoulders of the generations before us. And to those generations, we say thank you. However, thank you is not enough. The challenge of my generation is to wipe out all that old data our parents, and probably many of you here in this audience, had to ignore. All that old data about what we could not do. We need to rewrite the story on Down syndrome because there are still too many experts who have a distorted view of our potential based on outdated information and low expectations. We have too many experts sharing that distorted view. Some of them saying maybe people like us shouldn't be born at all. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can pick any state in the US, any city in the US, search for the various Down syndrome support groups there, and read about people just like me who have had the advantage of early intervention programs like Kindering, who battled their way through school, got regular diplomas, and are working hard to live and grow in their communities. Read about some talented musicians and fashion models. Read about some golfers, soccer players, and open water swimmers. Read about black belts in Taekwondo. How many of you have one of those? Well, my friend Megan Sheedler is well on her way to earning hers. And yes, she has Down syndrome. We are not the exception, ladies and gentlemen. We are the potential. And it is our responsibility to become more visible, to become more vocal, and to advocate for ourselves in the communities where we live. And there is no time to let up. We owe it to each other, and we owe it to all those coming down the path to keep pushing the bar on what is possible for those of us with Down syndrome and other disabilities. I think that each time one of us makes it a little further on the road to inclusion in the schools, the workplace, and the community, we need to turn around and reach back and try to make the road a little easier for those who are just starting out now. When you choose to support the Kindering Center, that is exactly what you're doing. You're making this road easier for people like me. You are giving us the building blocks we need to be included in life. You know, Margaret Mead once said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Well, we are that small group of thoughtful, committed citizens that Margaret Mead was talking about, ladies and gentlemen. And we can change the world for people with Down syndrome and other disabilities. Indeed, all of you here supporting us are doing just that. Thank you again for taking the time to hear what I've had to say this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Amazing.